Plus on est de fous, plus on lit.
Version bonus.
What did I write? 14? What did I write? 14?
要強調，新春獻禮，差唔多所有型號都有3個月租賃免供款 ，S60 同 S90， 仲有6個月租賃免供款，只係到2月27號。SICKLY。
Alors que le genre, né dans les années 70, avec cette émission, et aussi avec des albums récents de Kylie Minogue, de Lisa Leblanc, ou le travail du formidable producteur David Canada et sa pièce Function. Merci et bienvenue à tous ceux qui se joignent à nous.
I watch this in the news. Yeah, news. Fuck news, man.
In the GTA. The force launched an internal investigation 2 years ago. 2 other veteran officers were charged last month.
Well, Peel police are searching for suspects after a man was shot and critically injured in Brampton. Now, 680's Momin Qureshi is on the story for us, joining us live now with some of those details. Momin.
Steve, what we know now is Peel police telling me just recently that the 22-year-old Brampton was shot this morning and sent to hospital in life-threatening condition. Remains that way. He's still fighting for his life in hospital while police continue to investigate.
We do not have at this time any information on suspects or suspect vehicle descriptions. That's why it's important for us that any member of the public that has any information to contact investigators or to contact Crime Stoppers.
The shooting happening at Iceland Poppy Trail and Delphinian Way. That's near Mayfield Road and McLaughlin Road. Now, police say when they arrived at 2:15 this morning to the call, they found some shell casings, looked around and found the victim not too far away. They're trying to figure out right now how many guns were involved, how many people were involved, how many cars were involved. They say there is the likelihood that there's a lot of surveillance video available in the area, so they'll try to get their hands on that. Hopefully come across a couple of witnesses who maybe heard or saw something to figure out who's responsible.
A 49-year-old man has now been charged with first-degree murder in the death of his wife. Police found the 41-year-old woman suffering critical stab wounds just before 8 last night at the house on Bond Crescent near Yonge and King Road. That is in Richmond Hill. She died at the scene. The couple's 4 children between the ages of 9 and 19 were in the house at the time but not hurt. Police say they are not revealing the names of the victim or her husband in order to protect the identities of the children.
And in Washington today, lawmakers are pushing the Capitol Police's acting chief on why more wasn't done to help stop the insurrection.
Yogananda Pittman says officials knew armed extremists might attack Congress, but nothing indicated just how bad the attack would get.
There was no such intelligence.
Saying Capitol Police did boost security. At a House hearing, Congressman Tim Ryan says it's clear Pittman and others failed to understand all the signs, pointing to a worst-case attack.
I feel like you didn't put it all together and synthesize it in a way and go, holy cow, I mean, something really bad can happen here.
Pittman says in hindsight, more should have been done, chalking it up to lessons learned. Sagar Megani, Washington.
That's not a thing.
News Time 209.
That's you shrugging your shoulders saying it's not my fault.
Ciao, I'm Dominic Primucci, and I'm excited to share we now offer flat-based.
It's like the last line in a bad movie or bad TV show. Oh, chalk it up to lessons learned. Means nothing. Means nothing except I'm not at fault. I'm not responsible. Chalk it up to lessons learned. You didn't learn the lesson. You knew people were coming armed to break into the place, and you didn't do shit to stop it. You didn't learn the lesson. There is no lesson learned. Oh, we'll do it differently next time. Are you aware how your country even started? Allegedly. It's something to do with making treaties with bloodthirsty killers.
A little peace and quiet can be found if you make room for it. You need affordable, flexible storage solutions. Head to Access Storage and find space at your place while you need it. Shop Canadian, store Canadian. Try 4 weeks free at over 100 locations in Ontario. Visit accessstorage.ca.
You understand your business better than anyone.
se mettait à jouer, la clientèle sur le plancher de danse nous regardait, pointait la porte en voulant dire allez-vous-en, c'était non mais la polarisation de la semaine était extraordinaire à cette époque-là.
Oui. Alors que ce qu'on apprend dans le livre dont on va vous parler, c'est que c'est l'incroyable pouvoir rassembleur, fédérateur du disco et comment, pour la première fois, on a réuni donc dans des discothèques des gens de toutes sortes de communautés qui ne se seraient pas nécessairement parlé.
Des communautés marginales, on va y revenir. Alors, il faut parler de l'auteur. Je disais, les professeurs d'études de genre, ça a été une DJ à l'Estécole. Elle a une méthode particulière.
En fait, elle était...
The right lane is blocked because of a collision. A heavy backup northbound DVP from Don Mills to approaching York Mills. Westbound on the 401, the stalled vehicle approaching the Allen and the Express, that's been cleared. And we had an earlier problem approaching Islington and the Express. That issue was there for about an hour and a half. So that's why the delays are so terrible on the westbound 401. It's jammed from Young to Kipling, alternate the Express and collectors. Eastbound on the 401, east of Highway 6 South, the right lane is closed. That's for ongoing construction. So it's still going, getting through that construction zone, about a 2.5 kilometer backup. And then busy eastbound 401 from Kipling to the 400 Express and collectors. Northbound on the 427 at the 407, the right lane is closed for construction. Traffic is jammed from just north of Finch. We also have construction on the northbound 400 at Aurora Road. MT reporting the left lane closed there, but just a slight slowdown getting past that construction area. On city streets at Queensway and Sherway Gardens, that's also Queensway and the 427. The traffic lights are still flashing red in all directions at this intersection. I've already notified MTO and Toronto Transportation, but no police on point duty yet.
You complain to them when the traffic lights aren't green.
This is a very busy intersection, so be very careful at the Queensway and Sherway Gardens. Again, those traffic lights are on the fritz. We also have some maintenance work in Scarborough, northbound on Kennedy, north of Ellesmere. It's reduced to a single lane, so it's slow going getting through that area as well. Looking for better results from your Google advertising? Switch to Search Kings, winner of the Google Premier Partner Customer Satisfaction Award. Your search is over. Let Search Kings help your customers find you. And now with the forecast, here's Jill Taylor.
It was 0 early this morning, and that's our guaranteed high for the day. We'll be close to that for a good portion of the day. Increasing clouds. Snow moves in overnight, a trace to a centimeter, but should be out of the way for the Friday morning commute. And then we'll be back into the sunshine. -5 for the low, up to 4 degrees for tomorrow. For today, already reached our guaranteed high, 0.
Right now, downtown,
it was
is 0 with lots of sunshine. It's -1 at Pearson. 680 News Time, 2:13.
And the Dynamic Funds Market Minute. For that, let's go to the Business Center and check on the day it's been so far. Chris McCusker.
Yeah, and not good. That's how I would sum it up. Now, if we're looking for a bright spot, Steve, the NASDAQ, which has been the big loser all day, pretty much all week, actually, it's off its low for the day. It was down by more than 3%. Now it's off by 2.2%. The S&P down 78 points, the Dow off by 338, and the TSX is down by 196, 18,287. Gold is lower for a third day, down $21, 17.76. Oil is higher by 8 cents, 63.30 a barrel. And the Canadian dollar today, which earlier moved above 80 cents U.S., it's now down by 0.3 cents, 79.61 cents U.S. At the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker.
When it comes to investing, it's time to consider the alternatives. Dynamic Funds sees diversification differently. Ask a financial advisor how and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
Between shoveling driveways, carrying giant bags of salt, and pulling toboggans up the hill all day, winter can be hard on your back. It's a good thing the 2020 Toyota RAV4 LE all-wheel drive with
serons bien, nous serons heureux. Le cœur battant, le cœur joyeux. Dis l'été, jamais. Dis l'été,
That's my brain changing experience. I think
à nos cœurs volés, nous tomberons, rêvons encore, à nos secrets, à nos trésors, nous trouverons un ciel sans de Dieu, à nos paradis sans fin, à la vie comme à la mort.
He looks down below and he sees the fisherman and he's like on the ground and he's writhing and he's all over the place and he's like just going crazy. He's like, what has happened to this guy? Yeah. So he turns the plane around, he lands back on the island and he says to this guy, what's wrong? Are you okay? He says, no, I just used the bear spray. On himself. Yeah. No, that's for the bear. Not you. Not you. Yeah, it's not repellent. Yeah, it's not like mosquitoes. Okay.
Read the instructions.
Yeah. All right, back after a break here at Global News Radio, 640 Toronto.
If there's one vehicle made for winter in Canada, it's a Subaru.
Ailleurs n'importe où, je m'éclate quand je fous.
An addiction agency that provides support specifically for Black people over the age of 16. The organization was created in 1995 with funding from the Ministry of Health to address the gaps in mental health supports for Black and racialized communities. Executive Director and founding member Asifa Soreng says members of these communities experience racism and discrimination on a daily basis.
And that makes their health and mental health is impacted greatly. So when we offer our support, we recognize that both mental health and experiences of discrimination and racism are all intertwined. And so for us not to connect them and not to combine them in our approach to service delivery would actually be a disservice to our service users.
Soreng says during its inception, the organization made a conscious decision that all staff, board members, and clients would be from racialized communities to ensure all decisions, programs, and services were developed with an anti-oppressive lens in mind. I'm Tiwana Turner.
And we have an update now to that investigation following a body discovery in Vaughan. York Regional Police now confirming they are treating the incident as a homicide. They got called to an industrial area near Keele and Texton Road today. And stay with 680 News for more on this developing story.
Your employment rights with Lior Samfiru from employmentlawyers.ca.
Puis il va y avoir pas des affrontements, mais James Brown qui est très militant, va s'essayer au disco avec une chanson The Original Disco Man qui marchera pas. Et parce que les gens trouvent... Il est toujours à l'origine. Il est toujours à l'origine, mais les gens le trouvent trop militant, ça ne marche pas.
We're still discussing James Brown's contributions.
Non. Quoique. Et c'est drôle parce que je vais faire du chemin sur ce que Nicolas disait, je n'avais pas prévu. Il y a eu dans les années 80 par la suite une sorte de ça a été perpétué, ces choses-là, ces tendances-là. C'était très gay, mais très macho aussi. Alors que d'un autre côté, tu avais Bronski Beat, qui s'était beaucoup inspiré du disco aussi, mais qui le faisait d'une autre manière. Mais l'affrontement Brown, James Brown et Barry White, qu'il trouve trop blanc, justement, dans sa musique, ça fait...
C'est Brown qui trouve Barry White trop blanc?
Il insiste sur son nom, c'est Barry White. Tu fais ça. Il l'accuse de faire de la musique. Et ça, c'est quelque chose qui est... Ce qui est intéressant, c'est que dès le début, elle va aux États-Unis, on va dire que le disco, tout au long de son existence, a été attaqué pour être à la fois trop gay et trop straight, trop blanc et trop noir, trop sursexualisé ou asexué. Et elle continue comme ça. C'est donc tout le monde peut projeter en fait ce qu'il veut. Et je trouve que la lecture qu'elle amène avec son background en gender studies, ce qu'elle apporte, cette lecture féministe qu'elle fait en fait du mouvement, jette une nouvelle lumière. Moi, je trouve que c'est pour ça que ça a été une lecture que j'ai trouvé très enrichissante.
Puis il y a quelque chose aussi qu'il ne faut pas oublier, c'est qu'aux États-Unis, à cette époque-là, c'était qui les héros de la musique? C'était le rocker. C'était le mâle, le rocker. Et quand arrive justement tout le mouvement disco, les Américains sont extrêmement surpris parce que là, ça affronte une vision du musicien qui était incarné justement par ces rockers-là. Et tout à coup, arrivent ces gens-là qu'on va voir pendant des années au haut de l'affiche.
Où le musicien a moins d'importance. On est moins dans la performance musicale. On est vraiment dans la piste de danse, la stance.
On est dans quelque chose de froid aussi. C'est-à-dire qu'on n'est plus dans le... Ça veut rien dire, dans le fond, les chansons disco. Ça veut pas dire grand-chose. Au point où, à un moment donné, Gloria Gaynor, qui avait une de ses chansons remixées, avait demandé au gars qui faisait le remix, dont on pourrait parler aussi, où est-ce que j'ai de la place pour chanter maintenant? Tu comprends? Parce que la musique disco, à partir du moment où on avait besoin de 18 minutes de musique dans un club qui n'était pas interrompu par des systèmes de mixage qui étaient archaïques et déficients avec des beats qui... Alors, il y a eu quelqu'un à un moment donné qui a fait, j'ai besoin de créer une musique dépouillée de paroles, dont les rythmes s'enchaînent bien, et on a inventé les 12 pouces, dans le fond, les vinyles, avec une phase de 12-15 minutes de musique qu'on pouvait donner aussi.
La musique électronique, en quelque sorte, avec l'émergence.
Il y a un personnage fondamental dans l'arrivée en fait, de ces chansons-là qui s'appelle Tom Moulton, qui a été le premier à publier justement un mix en fait complet de façon commerciale, donc un disque sur lequel il y avait plusieurs chansons qui s'enchaînaient, et il a été consultant en fait pour beaucoup d'artistes qui simplement dans le séquençage des albums où lui il avait vraiment cet esprit de DJ, et c'est en quelque sorte aussi l'inventeur du remix. C'est que parce que le challenge en fait lorsque vous êtes un DJ disco, c'est de choisir des chansons qui ont la même rythmique, en fait la même le même beat, et vous pouvez donc fusionner une chanson à une autre, plutôt que de créer un petit vide entre les deux. Et là, lorsqu'on peut jouer justement avec la vitesse du disque, Tom Moulton invente ce genre-là, transforme radicalement la musique de danse, et là, tout d'un coup, on peut danser pendant 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heures, et ça donne éventuellement lieu beaucoup plus tard à ces raves interminables. Cette idée, donc, qu'on pourrait danser face à quelqu'un qui n'est pas comme un artiste live, mais en fait simplement un DJ qui met de la musique. Donc, tout le disco a inventé ça. Donc, de dire que le disco n'a pas apporté grand-chose à la culture, c'est archi faux. D'abord, on le voit avec toutes les communautés dont on a parlé, mais musicalement aussi, ça a été très important. Et même les gens qui s'opposaient au disco, les rockers, on l'a dit, les Stones, qui sont tous faits des chansons disco, et même les punks qui étaient assez disco et anti-disco, ont fini par adopter cette rythmique et on voit aujourd'hui des groupes comme LCD Sound System, par exemple. C'est vraiment né, c'est quelqu'un qui a à la fois cette culture dance et la culture punk et qui les fusionne ensemble et qui fait quelque chose comme ça. Donc, le disco donc, a laissé un véritable héritage. Et il est important. On n'a même pas parlé de cette actualité. On n'a même pas parlé de ce point important. On va revenir.
Toujours. Hot Stuff Disco and the Remaking of American Culture d'Alice Eccles, c'est paru chez W.W. Norton en 2010. Nicolas Titi, vous devez nous quitter, mais Marc Mathieu, vous restez avec nous. Oui.
Ici Radio-Canada Première.
Plus on écoute, plus on lit.
Avec Marie-Louise Arsenault.
Plus on écoute, plus on lit.
10e saison. Écoutez-nous en direct.
This report, we're going to check in now with our GameStop business editor, Chris McCusker. And Chris,
yes, GameStop correspondent.
You absolutely are. Now, where is stock today on GameStop?
Right now, it's up 60%, Steve. Not bad, but it jumped by more than 100% at one point today. It's already been halted because of volatility. So
at 100% it gets halted. In China, it's 20%.
What is driving this latest rally, you ask? Well, a cryptic tweet by a board member about soft serve ice cream. It comes from Ryan Cohen. It's an image of an ice cream cone with an emoji icon of a frog. The working theory here is the fact that he's been added to the GameStop board is seen as a positive move. Now, that's pretty much where the winning ends on Wall Street. We've got markets firmly in the red, although well off the lows for the day. The NASDAQ right now is down 2%. It is still the big loser in North America. And at one point, it dropped by more than 3%, so it's bad, but it's not as bad. The S&P down 60 points, the Dow off by 298. The latest GDP data in the U.S. did show growth of 4.1% in the final 3 months of 2020, better than expected. Jobless claims better than expected as well. The TSX down 175, 18,309. And really the big driver here, what's behind all of this, bond yields are climbing in Canada and the U.S., and there is a working theory that the surge is overestimating inflation expectations. Avery Schenfeld is chief economist at CIBC.
For the most part, they're good news. They're suggesting that economic fortunes are improving globally and in North America, which will mean that central banks might not have to keep interest rates this low for as many years as the market
central banks don't set interest rates, they set target interest rates.
Now, shares in BlackBerry, which had been part of the so-called Reddit rally, did move higher at one point today, up by about 3%. Now the stock is down 2%. We've also got gold lower by $23, $17.74. Oil is higher by 21 cents, $63.43 a barrel. And the Canadian dollar, which earlier today moved above 80 cents US, is now down by 0.3 cents, 79.63 cents US. I'm Chris McCusker. This is 680 News.
Canadians love helping each other.
Oh, here. Let me grab that for you.
Thank you. As I was saying, Canadians, like you, love helping each other.
No worries.
And when you donate your vehicle to Kidney Car, that's exactly what you're doing. Funding programs and services for kidney patients right here in Canada. Plus, you get your car towed away for free and a minimum $300 tax receipt, often more.
Right on.
Kidney Car, helping Canadians help each other for over 27 years. Donate at kidneycar.ca.
The new 680 News.
Be the first to know newsletter.
Brought to you by Diamond and Diamond Lawyers.
Subscribe now at 680news.com/newsletters.
And always be the first to know.
All right, taking a look now at meteorologist Jill Taylor's forecast for the day today. We are looking at that sun cloud mix, and that is going to continue for the next couple of hours. We've already hit our daytime high of 0, and that is our guaranteed high for today. Tonight, though, it's going to be cloudy with some snow beginning overnight, just a little bit, trace to 1 centimeter, low down to -5, a wind chill of -10. And then as we head into tomorrow, we are looking at some early morning flurries possible, but then sunny and mild and a high of 4. Right now, though, in downtown Toronto, we've got some sunshine, 1 degree, feeling more like -3. For Irene Precklin, I'm Steve Roberts. Have yourself a great afternoon. 680 News Time, 2:30.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good afternoon. This is Thursday, the 25th of February. I'm Sljana Tominzik.
And I'm James Monroe. Here's what's making news right now.
The province is reporting 1,138 new cases of COVID-19 today. Ontario is set to release new virus projections this afternoon.
A homicide unit has been called in after a body was found near Kiel and Teston in Vaughan.
An overnight shooting in Brampton sends a 22-year-old man to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Police are on scene near Mayfield Road and McLaughlin Road investigating. Leafs defenseman Rasmus Sandin is out until at least mid-March. Leafs and Raptors get the day off. And are we getting closer to a Russell Wilson trade? Sports at 45.
All aboard the rocket ship? GameStop takes flight again and brings the other stonks along for the ride. Business at 56.
680 News Time, 2:31.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Carrie Prunskis.
This report is brought to you by TELUS Living Well Companion. Northbound on the Don Valley Parkway approaching York Mills, the right lane remains closed. It's because of a collision. A heavy backup northbound on the Don Valley Parkway. It's jammed as you approach Don Mills up to York Mills. Northbound Don Mills, that's taking a huge hit with the overflow of traffic. So it's quite busy from the DVP up to Eglinton. It's still the better choice, though, I would say, than the northbound DVP. Westbound on the 401, that's busy from Bayview to Yonge, express and collectors. You get a break, and then it slows again from the Allen, alternately express and collectors to Dixon, jammed into Mississauga from here, Ontario on the express, and from Mavis and the collectors to approaching Mississauga Road. Eastbound on the 401, there's about a 2-kilometer backup east of Highway 6 South. That's due to construction in the right lane. And then another delay eastbound 401 as you head past Mississauga Road, and it's filling in from east of the 427 to the 400 express and collectors. Northbound on the 427 at the 407, the right lane is closed for construction. Traffic is jammed from just north of Finch. For a limited time, order TELUS Living Well Companion home with fall detection and save $60 a year with promo code LW. Save 5 at Living Well. Conditions apply. And now with the forecast, here's Jill Taylor. Denise Andriacci taking over for Jill on this gorgeous sunny Thursday. It hasn't been warm, but it's very stable and pretty close to seasonal. We'll hover around there for a couple of days, which isn't so bad. Right now at Pearson, it's mainly sunny with a gustier wind out of the west-northwest, about 20 to 30 kilometers an hour. So let's call it breezy as opposed to gusty. Now, we have a very slight chance of seeing a few scattered flurries this evening and then also close to the overnight hours. It's a minimal risk at this point, and it will be somewhat isolated. And if we see anything at all, the accumulation will be low. Your overnight low tonight, -7. That guaranteed high today, 0.
This is 680 News.
The province is set to release new modeling data this afternoon on the spread of COVID-19. Toronto and Peel region remain under a stay-at-home order. We're seeing an increase in cases, but test positivity is down.
Are they gonna like just send you an email? Or is it gonna be
James, the province is reporting 1,138 new cases of COVID-19 today and 23 more deaths linked to the virus. There are 339 new cases in Toronto, 204 in Peel, and 106 in York region. Today's data is based on nearly 66,400 tests. Test positivity now is at its lowest point since mid-October at 2%. Hospitalizations have risen slightly with ICU occupancy sitting at 287. Now, Ontario is set to release new COVID-19 projections. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Steiny Brown, co-chair of Ontario's Science Advisory Group, said that projections indicated more contagious variants of COVID-19 were spreading in the province with 5 to 10% of all cases. He also said strong public health measures such as stay-at-home orders and a vaccination of vulnerable groups were important to help avoid a third wave. Ontario says 1,094 cases were resolved since yesterday's report. Phil Martino, 680 News.
At Queen's Park, the questions keep coming about the Ford government's vaccine rollout plan.
Health Minister Christine Elliott was asked by reporters who the essential workers are who will be receiving the vaccine in phase 2. She didn't really know.
Perhaps people work in the energy industry, anything that's providing services that are
perhaps people that work in the energy industry. That's great. That's nobody. You know what energy does? It comes down a wire or a pipe all by itself all day long.
The vaccination online portal won't be opening until March 15th.
We don't want to rush to failure. We want to make sure that when this system is ready, it's not going to crash, which we've seen happen in other jurisdictions.
Opposition leader Andrea.
Yeah, but they
grasping at straws for excuses
excuses as to why he doesn't have a proper plan in place. But look, this is how this government has rolled from day one when it comes to COVID-19. They have never been able to get out ahead of actions that would, slow down the spread.
With an eye on Queen's
You
Park.
breathe it in through your mouth, but you seem to think you got breath control.
With breaking news from Vaughan, there's a heavy police presence near Kiel and Teston Road after a body was found in the area. Police say the discovery was made near Rodinia and Teston. The York Regional Police Homicide Unit has taken over. Cause of death not known. Stay with 684 on the story.
This is 680 News in Brampton. Peel police are appealing to the public for security camera footage after shooting near Mayfield and McLaughlin. Put one man in hospital. 680's Moen Cressy joins us live with the latest on that. Moen.
Yes, so Janet, I just talked to Peel Police a few minutes ago. They say that the 22-year-old man who was shot around 2:15 this morning remains in hospital in life-threatening condition, and they are still on the search to try to figure out exactly what happened.
We do not have, at this time, any information on suspects or suspect vehicle descriptions. That's why it's important for us that any member of the public that has any information to contact investigators or to contact Crime Stoppers.
Now, police say they do believe there is a good amount of surveillance video available in the area. They just simply have to get their hands on it. They're also hoping that they're able to talk to some witnesses who maybe saw something or heard something around that time of day. They say there was some shell casings around, so it's possible there was more than one person involved. So they're trying to figure out all those details.
Shell casings around, so therefore there could be more than one person. You're a fucking genius, bro.
York police have charged the 49-year-old Richmond Hill man with first-degree murder after finding the man's wife dead in the house. 41-year-old woman stabbed and pronounced dead at the scene just before 8 last night. The house is on Vaughan Crescent near Yonge and King. Police say the couple's 4 children were in the house at the time.
4 children
at from 9 to 19. They were not injured physically. To protect the identities of the children, investigators are not sharing the names of the man and woman.
There's a warning for dog owners in Bolton. Provincial police have received 3 reports so far this month of possible dog poisonings using antifreeze. All of them were in neighborhoods around James Bolton Public School. One case involved a piece of bread soaked in antifreeze. Police are telling owners to watch out for what their pets might be getting into when they're outside. They say keeping the animal on a leash will also help.
This is 680 News. A Hall of Fame toy is getting a name change in the name of gender neutrality.
Potato heads, Mr. and Mrs. You gotta keep them together because they're madly in love.
That may be difficult to do now. The Mr. is no more.
It's Mr. Potato Head to you, you backstabbing murderer.
Not anymore, according to its creator, toy giant Hasbro. No, starting later this year, Mr. Potato Head will be rebranded to Potato Head. Needless to say, this is a hot topic on social media today.
You accursed swine!
You might want to mute these words on your Twitter account. This is all part of what Hasbro calls a modern makeover for the toy that first appeared in 1952 and was popularized by the Toy Story film in the 1990s. Similar adjustments have been made to brands like Barbie and Thomas the Tank Engine in recent years.
90s? Wasn't that like
hockey puck?
I'm Alex
year
Woodfield.
2000?
If you've been wondering what all the
When the
fuss
fuck
is
did
about
Toy Story
praising
come
Britney
out?
Spears, the documentary will finally be available to Canadians tomorrow.
The much talked about documentary will be available in Canada on Crave. Up until now, it was streaming on Hulu, which Canadians don't have access to, at least not yet. Now, when the documentary premiered in the U.S., it prompted much discussion about the way female...
So I don't give a fuck about any of the shit they're going to pretend to talk about. So in the 90s, the big issue was gray market satellite. Gray market satellite.
that Spears has been under since 2008. The hashtag Free Britney has grown in popularity since the documentary was released in the U.S. At the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker. Gas prices are next.
Start your weekdays with Morning Live on CHCH.
Good morning, I'm Annette Hom. Here's what we're working on.
I saw everything I needed to see back in like 2003. Wasn't that when they covered it? 2004 or some shit. I'm trying to think, what year was it? Before 2008, after 2001.
Morning Live, waking you up with information and inspiration.
Ici.radio-canada.ca/Plus et écrivez-nous à plus-haut-canada.ca. Perfect? That's what Bass Fitter can do for you. Bathfitter's 35 years experience can turn old into new and worn into wow in one day. Installed by one expert technician. And here is some exciting news. For a limited time, we pay the tax for you. Hurry, offer ends soon. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free virtual design consultation today.
This is Superfan Napatia. You see me driving a lot of SUVs, but I have fallen in love with the new Genesis GB80. The only seat that can compare to my courtside seat is behind.
I'll tell you how bad the marketing is for this. I'm still not sure who the fuck Genesis is. And I don't give a fuck.
Car of the Superfan.
Oh, I know. You have to order on the internet and they deliver it for you. And that didn't take off. And within a year, COVID. So you fucked this up royally. I still don't know who you are.
This report is brought to you.
Why is the Nissan guy selling them? Is it part of Nissan or not?
Approaching York Mills, the right lane remains closed because of a collision. Traffic is crawling up the northbound DVP from just north of Baby Bloor to approaching York Mills. And you'll find a slow-mo northbound on Don Mills as well. From the DVP up to Eglinton, gets really jammed up the closer you get to Eglinton. Westbound on the 401, busy from the Allen, alternately express and collectors to Dixon. Then slow going into Mississauga from here, Ontario and the express, and from Mavis and the collectors to approaching Mississauga Road. Northbound on the 427 at the 407, the right lane is closed for construction. So traffic is jammed on the northbound 427 from Finch to the 407. Eastbound on the 401, east of Highway 6 South, the right lane remains closed for construction. So it's busy getting through that construction zone, about a 2-kilometer backup. And I'm just noticing a really significant slowdown now on the westbound side of the 401 heading towards that construction zone. So we may have a new problem westbound 401 approaching Highway 6 South. Any updates appreciated at star 680. Getting around on city streets at the Queensway and Sherway Gardens. This is also at the end of the southbound 427 rail to the Queensway. The traffic lights at this intersection are flashing red in all directions. I can see that
I gotta go check my trap line for news.
Be very careful.
Unless damn Wolverine's been stealing my news items.
Bring on winter safely in a Subaru with the
Facebook posts keep disappearing the same way.
Contact your Subaru dealer to book your appointment and enjoy an incredible winter on bonus. And now with the forecast, here's Denise Andriachi.
Some nice sunshine today. It's not a warm day, but it's pretty close to seasonal. The hot spot in the province is Windsor at only 4 degrees. So we're hovering between 0 and 4 degrees for southern Ontario, and that's not too bad. The winds are out of the northwest. It's breezy, but it's not gusty out there. We do get cold tonight, down to near -6, -7 maybe, with a wind chill closer to -10 if you're an early riser tomorrow morning. But tomorrow we'll see more sunshine and seasonal conditions in the afternoon, 3 degrees. It's 0 right now and sunny at Pearson. Your overnight low, -7. Now the Dynamic Funds Market Minute to the Business Center. Here's Richard Southern.
Oh, stupendous stonks. So, Jana, here we go again with the Reddit trade. Remember late yesterday we had GameStop taking off out of nowhere. Well, the ascent very much continues. Right now, GameStop is up to $145 US, gaining 58.33% on the session. We have seen a pretty broad range. The high of the day, $184. The low, $101. The other so-called stocks also picking up some steam here, with AMC trading up to $9.21. The broader markets are lower, though. The TSX down 202 points. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 361, and the NASDAQ down 334 points. Up go.
All rethinking risk these days. Your investments should be no exception. A financial advisor can help you build a resilient portfolio. Learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
I'm here in the Visions Electronics warehouse, and man, we're full to the brim, top to bottom. So we're reducing prices on everything. TVs to home theater, appliances to headphones. It's the inventory sell-off at Visions Electronics, and we're marking everything down up to 70% off. Plus, take up to 36 months to pay interest-free. Your best price guaranteed, and a bonus 2-year warranty on premium TVs. And also, I shouldn't be operating this forklift. Sorry. See the flyer at visions.ca.
Let's spin the wheel. Yes. Yes.
Excitement for the Bigger Spin scratch ticket is great at home.
Big spin.
Not so great at your local pottery class.
Big spin.
Ma'am, your clay's getting airborne.
It's in my hair. Oh, woo.
Play the Bigger Spin Instant Scratch ticket today. You could win a spin on the Bigger Spin wheel for a guaranteed win up to $1 million.
Toronto's news. Now, this is 680 News.
Sunshine in downtown Toronto, but it's cold. Feels like -3 when you factor in the wind. Good afternoon. I'm Sljana Tominczyk.
And I'm James Monroe. Here's what's making news right now.
We're awaiting the latest modeling data from the province's COVID-19 Science Advisory Table. That's set to get underway at 3 this afternoon. We'll carry it for you live when it begins. The York Regional Homicide Unit has taken over a case after a body was found in the Keelan-Teston Road area of Vaughan. And coming up after sports, the province introducing new election laws that would limit third-party advertising in the next election campaign.
Time now for 680 Sports.
From Sportsnet 590 The Fan, here's Alex Xero.
Sljana, the Leafs have confirmed that back on February 15th, defenseman Rasmus Sandin did break a bone in his foot when blocking a shot during a Marlies game. Sandin will be reevaluated in mid-March. Leafs open a Western Canadian swing Saturday in Edmonton. The Philadelphia Inquirer reporting that if the Raptors decide to trade Kyle Lowry, the Clippers, the Sixers, and the Heat could become possible destinations. Lowry is playing out the final year of his contract, and according to the report, the Raptors would most likely want picks, young players, and expiring contracts in return. Adam Schefter reporting that Chicago, New Orleans, Dallas, and Vegas would be the only teams that Russell Wilson would think about waiving his no-trade clause to join. A report from The Athletic today details how the relationship between Wilson and the Seahawks is so bad that a trade could be considered. Schefter does note that Wilson has not demanded a trade. MLS news, Thierry Henry, citing family reasons, has stepped down as head coach of CF Montreal. And coming up at 5:30, it's draw 17 at the Tournament of Hearts. 6-1 Ontario will take on 7-0 Canada. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
It takes more than a fresh coat of paint. When you're selling your house, you need to stage it just right. Store your valuables with Access Storage and showcase all the beautiful spaces in your home. Whether you're downsizing, upsizing, or moving into your dream home, Access Storage has short-term or long-term storage solutions ready for you. They're flexible, so you can be too. Whatever transition you're going through, Access Storage has over 100 stores conveniently located near you. Shop Canadian, store Canadian. Try 4 weeks free at accessstorage.ca.
You understand your business better than anyone. And no matter what challenges and opportunities you face, you always find a way to keep moving forward. The BDC understands your reality. As the bank for Canadian entrepreneurs, we provide the financing and advisory services you need to plan your path to the future. We're here for what's ahead, so you never have to look back. BDC, financing, advising, smart.
With All News Radio 680 News, the province has introduced a package of election law reforms that would limit third-party advertising in the 2022 provincial vote. Attorney General Doug Downey says the bill would extend the $600,000 spending limit placed on third-party advertisers from 6 months before an election to a year before the vote.
I mean, Ontario is the only place where we count third-party in the millions instead of in the thousands. And we've heard from Elections Ontario that they have concerns with that dynamic. We're trying to find the balance.
The proposed changes would also double the amount individuals can donate to a party, candidate, or constituency association from $1,650 to $3,300 a year. We're learning more about allegations of misconduct against Canada's top military commander. Admiral Art MacDonald stepped aside last night after the claim came to light. The CBC is now reporting the allegation involved a female crew member in an incident aboard a warship 10 years ago. Sources say the alleged incident took place on the HMCS Montreal during the military's annual Arctic exercise. MacDonald was a naval captain at the time. The allegation involves a junior officer and took place during a party where there was alcohol. Military police continue to investigate sexual misconduct allegations against former Chief of Defense Staff, General Jonathan Vance. This is 680 News. California's broken a new record when it comes to COVID deaths.
California is the first state to surpass 50,000 dead from COVID-19. This week, Los Angeles County announced 806 backlogged COVID-19 deaths, which were not properly counted when LA was suffering from a surge in December and January. The COVID rates here are dropping rapidly now. Hospitalizations and new cases are going down. Schools are beginning to reopen. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
But I just heard him say they weren't counting them. I just heard him say that.
This is 680 News.
When businesses advertise on both 680 News and
December 31st, 2030. There we go. So I guess I live here for the next 9 years too. That's the nuclear fuel plant place. You don't have to believe me. I live next door. They pay money. They pay money for these fucking things to get produced. Keep us in the loop so that we don't feel bad about nuclear energy in Canada.
Need with my account reps, and I feel that this trust that we have allows them to give me the best direction on what to continue to do. It is astonishing how many people will come up to me and say, "Hey, are you Valerie from that radio commercial?"
get 680 News and 98.1 CHFI working for you. Visit 680ads.com.
You got some fancy keys here, bro.
680 News time, 2:51.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Carrie Brunskis. This report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Northbound Don Valley Parkway, that problem approaching York Mills has cleared, so that right lane reopened, but traffic is jammed on the northbound DVP, very heavy from Baby Bluer up to York Mills. You're going to find a big slowdown northbound on Don Mills as well. It's jammed up from the DVP to Eglinton. Everybody was using that as an alternate. Westbound on the 401, expect delays across the city from the Allen and the Express and from the 400 and the Collectors to west of Kipling, then jammed into Mississauga from here, Ontario and the Express, and from Mavis and the Collectors to approaching Mississauga Road. And thanks to a traffic spotter for the update on the westbound 401 approaching Highway 6 South, the right lane is closed. We have some police activity here. The traffic spotter said that there's one vehicle there surrounded by about 4 police vehicles. So a heavy backup westbound on the 401. It's jammed from west of Guelph Line to approaching Highway 6 South. And a big slowdown on the eastbound 401 in this area. That's due to construction east of Highway 6 South. The right lane is closed. So you're looking at about a 3-kilometer backup getting through that construction zone. And then eastbound 401, it bunches up through Mississauga Road, and it's also filling in from the 427 to the 400 Express and Collectors. Southbound on the 404, that's a bit busy approaching Shepherd and the Collectors onto the 401 ramps. Not too bad of a drive right now on the southbound side of the DVP. Westbound Gardner, that's already jammed from the DVP to west of Strawn, and it heads up on construction northbound on the 427 at the 407. The right lane is closed. A very heavy backup from Finch, and the traffic lights are still malfunctioning at Queensway and Sherway Gardens. Be careful there. 407 ETR would like to thank everyone who continues to help fight COVID-19. Visit 407etr.com/road to recovery to see how they're doing their part. And now with the extended forecast, here's Denise Andriachi.
Well, a nice couple of days here. If we count tomorrow, the final Friday of February, mainly sunny and 3 degrees for tomorrow. That's not too shabby, and that's seasonal. We do see this chance of flurries overnight Friday, and we'll drop to near -1. So even the overnight low heading into the weekend is not so bad. It's in fact going to be a mild weekend, but Saturday is quite unsettled. Likely just a trace to maybe a centimeter of snow early Saturday while temperatures are still in that zone, and then we'll climb to near 6 degrees for a daytime high Saturday. So a lot of mixed precipitation changing over to just some rain. We should just be cloudy for Saturday night. Still a slight chance of seeing some showers Sunday, but overall a mostly cloudy day with sunny breaks, and again near 6 degrees. So it's really going to feel like spring this weekend. It's 0 right now at Pearson. That's the guaranteed high today. Your overnight low -7.
This extended forecast is brought to you by Dynamic Funds. When it comes to investing, it's time to consider the alternatives. Dynamic Funds sees diversification differently. Ask a financial advisor how and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
Tuesday, The Rock brings his true life story to City TV with the brand new comedy, Young Rock. When you dream big.
You guys wait till they get old, then they do a movie about being a kid. Right. Then they just do the same thing with Dr. Dre and Death Row Records or whatever the fuck it's called. They did the exact same thing. While the rappers are still alive, they got a bunch of new guys to play them. What the hell? I almost feel bad for the guys having to play their parts. Like, you know these people are still alive, right?
We're here for you.
On your radio, online.
And on your smart speaker.
This is 680 News.
The head of Marvel Studios is giving only a handful of clues on the future of the Disney Plus streaming series WandaVision and other Marvel characters.
Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige tells the Television Critics Association Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda will appear in the next Doctor Strange film that will come out next year. He won't say whether WandaVision will continue after the March 5th finale. However, Feige says the crossovers of Marvel characters between Disney Plus series and the films will continue, specifically Loki and Ms. Marvel. How do you follow the Marvel story if you only see some of the films or only the series? Feige says each film and series is supposed to be a self-contained storyline that both hardcore fans and newcomers can enjoy. I'm Margie Zaraletta.
Business is next.
Sitting at home wondering how to save money? Why not start with your windows and doors? That's smart thinking. Ecotech.
Then they're going to tell us about GameStop. Could they really want us informed? Ooh, what happened here? I think I got the very last of the last part and the very first of the next part. That's an interesting thing.
Eric, in what way does Eric Park Lexus go above and beyond?
Really being there for you every step of the way. I mean, it's really nice to walk into a dealership and feel comfortable. Like it's not just a one-time purchase. If we weren't so comfortable, we wouldn't be purchasing more vehicles, that's for sure.
They have to be customer-centered.
Aaron Park. This month, get up to $3,000 credit and 1.9% lease rates up to 39 months on 2021 NX300. Aaron Park.
680 News Time, 2:56.
Now the 680 News Business Report. Here's Richard Southern.
Well, there goes the rocket ship again. Slajana GameStop continues to surge. A two-day move now of about 270%, which has been part of a broader comeback for the so-called stonks, the Reddit stocks. GameStop right now is up 61%. It's trading at $148 US dollars the share. We've seen the session high of 184 and a session. Now, GameStop's spike was spurred by a big jump.
My dumbass is going to put on some music and smoke weed, and you can sit with me at your house and do the same thing, and we're not going to learn a goddamn thing, no matter how hard we try.
A GameStop board member tweeted a picture of an ice cream cone yesterday that seems to maybe have triggered the big resurgence for Reddit. Bruce Campbell with Campbell and Ross invest with that.
An ice cream cone might be as good an answer as any, right? I've read the interpretations of the ice cream cone. You know, it's sweet,
not working
like,
for some reason.
or they're going to start offering burgers in the stores, or like nobody even really knows, right?
There is certainly a lot of risk associated with the
What
stock
about
prices.
Radio Shack?
I mean, are we seeing that same sort of short interest that we were last month, Bruce?
Given what happened in the first go-around, the shorts are actually down to 30% now.
Then now go
where they
wear
were
shorts, no matter how bad my leg goes.
10 or 120% the last time. So a lot of the shorts have gone
Look
out
like
of it
it,
now.
the
So there's
game
less
stop.
reason to be
That's what makes
squeezed.
it.
Meantime, we got the broader markets lower. The TSX is down 220 points at 18,263. Dow falls from a record. It's down 449 points right now to 31,512. Big story today is rising at U.S. and Canadian bond yields. S&P 500 down 76 points. The Nasdaq down 373. Gold down $24. Canadian dollar falls to 75.5 cents. To check that, 79.5 cents U.S. This is 680 News.
East Coast Ford, the #1 retailer of Ford Canada for 2020, is your #1 destination
I'm having
for
a
the
very
toughest
2021
F-150.
introspective moment
Check
here.
out the completely
It's
redesigned
damn bright,
2021
isn't
F-150 Super Crew 4-wheel drive, loaded with heated leather seats, navigation, and so much more. Get it at East Coast Ford for only $95 plus HST weekly.
I've got a 1080
screen,
screen,
with just
motherfucker.
$2,000 free down.
I'm not getting away with this. 720, whatever.
At Shepherd in McAllen and Scarborough, or go to eastcartfordlincoln.com. See
Well,
for
that's not that
details.
good, is it?
Hi, DJ here from TechWise. Wondering how to get your company
That looks like
found on Google and social media? Here's dentist.
Well, the image quality sucks, I can verify. Well, I guess it could be worse. No, this is 2020 sucking. It's 720 interlace or 720 progressive or whatever. And it's completely out of focus. That's helpful. That's helpful. That's helpful. It's fucking bright, man. Yes, yes. Android, we hear you. Oh, fuck, more weird smells through the ventilation is
Good afternoon. It is Thursday, February 25th. I'm James Monroe.
I'm Sledgeana Tuminzik. Here's what's making news right now.
Happening now, we're standing by for an update from provincial health officials on the latest COVID modeling data. We'll be carrying it here live in seconds.
We are awaiting the latest COVID-19 modeling numbers from the province. 2 weeks ago, health officials said the projections showed more contagious variants of the virus are spreading in Ontario. And we have breaking news from Vaughan, where there's a heavy police presence in Keele and Texan after a body was found in the area.
Well, multiple teams might be lining up for Kyle Lowry's services, and is the relationship over between the Seahawks and their franchise quarterback? Sports at 15.
GameStop won't stop. The shares going bananas again, hovering around 150 right now. The broader market's so shocked by rising interest rates. The Dow's down 400. Business at 26.
680 News Time 301.
Traffic and weather together, Carrie.
This report is brought to you by TSC. I'll start with the good news before all the bad news comes in. Eastbound 401, east of Highway 6 South. Traffic spotters say that construction has wrapped up, so delays there are improving. But we have a new problem now on the eastbound 401 approaching Weston in the collectors. The two right lanes are blocked because of a collision. We have a bunch of tow trucks here and a slow go eastbound on the 401 from the 427 to Weston in both the express and collectors. But again, that problem is in the collector lanes. Westbound on the 401, that's busy from approaching Keele, alternately express and collectors to Dixon. Typical volume delays into Mississauga. And then an update, westbound 401 approaching Highway 6 South, the right lane still closed. It sounds like some sort of police investigation here. A huge backup westbound on the 401. It's jam-packed from west of Guelph line to approaching Highway 6 South. So if you're just about to head that way, consider an alternate route. Northbound on the 427 at the 407, the right lane remains closed for construction. It's jammed from Finch. And a reminder that problems northbound DVP approaching York Mills have cleared. Still busy from Baby Bloor to York Mills. This year, invest in your wellness with TSC's Healthy Living Essentials. Shop amazing offers on tech for fitness, kitchen appliances for healthy meals, and more. Shop tsc.ca. And now with the forecast, here's Denise Andriachi. Some gorgeous sunshine this afternoon, near seasonal conditions across the GTA. It's 2 degrees downtown and 0 at Pearson, 0 with the guaranteed high today. We have a slight chance of seeing a few isolated scattered flurries this evening, and close to midnight, after midnight until about 2-3 in the morning is when we carry that chance. Again, it is slight. Nothing it looks to be hampering the morning drive tomorrow. Tomorrow looks quite lovely, actually. Sunny and 3 degrees. Your overnight low tonight, near -7. 680 News Time 303.
So we're standing by for an update from provincial health officials on the latest modeling data. We will be carrying it here live shortly.
2 weeks ago, the co-chair of Ontario Science Advisory Group said projections indicated more contagious variants of the virus are spreading in the province and accounted for 5 to 10% of all cases. 680's Phil Martino joins us live with the latest. Phil.
So, Janet, today the province is reporting 1,138 new cases of COVID-19 and 23 more deaths linked to the virus. There are 339 new cases in Toronto, 204 in Peel, and 106 in York. That's based on nearly 66,400 tests. On the plus side, test positivity is at 2%, and hospitalizations have declined slightly. They've risen slightly. Now, the province's data experts are updating the modeling numbers today, so we should get a better picture about what we are all heading towards in the next few weeks. Dr. Steiny Brown, co-chair of Ontario Science Advisory Group, said that 2 weeks ago. Projections indicated more contagious variants of COVID-19 were spreading in the province with 5 to 10% of all cases. Phil Martino, 680 News.
With breaking news from Vaughan, a heavy police presence
Oh, I see it's in,
that's not
good.
this morning. 680's Mark Douglas.
Boletim informativo comunitario. Comunitario. That's where I live. Comunitario. Comunitario.
Huge police presence right here at the north end of Virginia Road at Teston Road, very close to Keele.
This man works in the area and says police were here on scene when
I'm
he got
thinking
to
it's
work
Portuguese,
before
but I'm
8
not
this
sure.
morning, and he saw 4 or 5 officers circle around something just lying out there on the street.
How it's made. Natural uranium dioxide pellets. Oh, these aren't the artificial uranium. I was wrong. This is natural uranium. Jesus Christ.
I can see York Regional Police
UO2,
officers focusing all their attention on a set of
uranium
gates to an
dioxide
old
powder
landfill
in
site,
sealed
and they have
drums.
made no official comment either way as to whether this could possibly be connected to the disappearance of Amanda Colleen from Toronto. The 33-year-old was last seen on February the 19th in Toronto, and that is the missing woman that led Toronto
all
police
7 steps
to
in the
an
uranium fuel. You realize if I brought this with me on the airplane to Iran, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing with this?
officials.
Thursday means 2 things. One, look back at the week and see what's going on. Try to look at what's happening in the weekend ahead.
Radioactive.
Been 2 weeks since we had Dr. Brown from the scientific table and our modeling group to give us an update of the analytics and see how we are doing with our different steps and processes and updating us on how things are going with the so-called variants of concern and our impact here in Ontario and other jurisdictions. So with that, I know there's a fair amount to cover, so I'm going to hand things over to Dr. Brown, and thank you for being here again today with us.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. So the data today will show a clear improvement and a clear path forward. But only care and caution will protect the gains that we have right now. If we are very careful, we can imagine a much better summer. And a better summer is the payoff from the stay-at-home order and the vaccinations. But if we let up, we will, with little doubt, lose the gains that we've worked so hard for. The best analogy is a minefield. Case rates.
No, it's not, because somebody just walked
And the
across
extended stay-at-home order in the GTA has been a powerful protection against more
That was
rapid
a
growth.
horrible analogy.
But the first dangers are immediately in front of us. Case rates are already rising in some of the public health units again. The new variants of the virus that first appeared in the United Kingdom, South Africa, and Brazil are another serious hazard ahead of us. In the United Kingdom, cases tripled in a month before much more severe lockdowns brought them back under control. Big jumps in
They didn't
mobility,
bring them under
or big
control.
increases in gatherings will create the same kinds
The
of
number
dangers
of
for
new
us.
cases went down. You still had new
will
cases
likely explode
every
if
goddamn
the virus
day,
gets
didn't
into
you?
conditions that create super spreader events. And traveling across the province from high-risk communities to low-risk communities can ruin the gains in those public health units where the pandemic is already under control. Simply, we need to watch our every step. There is no easy path through a minefield, just care and caution with each step. I want to emphasize that this applies across all of Ontario, whatever the local public health measures are. We're no longer under the same rules everywhere, but we are still facing the same threat. An outbreak in one public health unit can easily cross the road to the one next door. It is easy for the virus to move between towns if people are moving. If the experiences in the United Kingdom and other countries that struggle with the new variants are any indication, any part of the province can go from a good situation to a bad situation in a matter of a few days. Indeed, we've seen this exact situation play out here in the past few days in Canada, in the province of Newfoundland. And right here in
My way of
Northern
protesting
Ontario.
here is just to let it run through. You
Cities,
hear all the bullshit for
numbers.
yourself. I'm in a different place already.
Care and caution are particularly critical for our health system, for the health of the people working in our system, and for our ability to care for all patients in Ontario. Intensive care units that we have still have more than 300 COVID-19 patients, and a rapid increase in COVID-19 patients in one public health unit can hamper care for all who need it there. Now, the better summer is in sight if we work for it now. The December lockdowns helped keep infections out of our long-term care homes, and prioritizing vaccination in these same homes protected their residents. Together, these changes likely saved more than 300 lives alone between December 14th and February 10th.
Can you save me a few gigabytes of memory on my phone? I'm having
Further
a problem
reduce
making a video.
hospitalizations and intensive care unit admissions, and keep kids at school if we remain cautious and if we
Right,
keep
but
focusing on
why?
where they will have the biggest
Because that's where I want them,
impact
so I can touch
and
them.
deaths.
That's the piece that's missing. This is the little piece of the circle. They keep going in a circle and skipping part of it. Because that's where they can access them. Access. It's all about access. They can't find a way to come into your house and access your kids. They used to come showing up with allegations they made themselves. They would show up with the police. The police somehow thinking they are required to do whatever they tell them. I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about teachers' unions and children's aid societies, which are both private corporations in the province of Ontario.
At the population level. We all know that the new variants spread more quickly than the old variants.
Why are the kids in school?
The next few weeks
There
to
are,
understand how the variants
said
are
7 and now
actually
10. There's 10 fucking kids with COVID-19 in different schools in BC, and they're saying there's no evidence of transmission. End of sentence. There's no evidence of transmission. You got 10 sick people. It transmitted somehow, stupid.
Let's get into the numbers. And I'll just apologize that when we do the projection of the data, we'll lose the sign language translation. My apologies, but it'll be right back after we finish the slides. If we could put up the slides, please.
It's not a sign language translation. It's an American Sign Language interpreter.
Which is the key findings. So, as I noted earlier,
it's not a translation. It's in English, you fucking retard.
Hospitalizations, and ICU.
I'm a doctor. I went to school. I know what's best for you. You don't know what sign language is, but you're telling us about it. He doesn't know that it's still English.
Transmission and have slowed the spread of the variants of concern. Variants of concern, such as B117, the United Kingdom variant, continue to spread across Ontario.
They're required to provide it in English and French. Ontario's Disabilities Act says they're required to provide it. It doesn't matter. My apologies. It's still illegal for them to run the numbers without the interpreter.
Has the biggest impacts on deaths and hospitalizations.
But you said your DSMR was reducing the number of days in
hospital. The next few
hospital.
weeks are critical to understanding the impact of the variants. There's a period of remaining risk before the pandemic.
Remember, reducing the number of days in hospital doesn't mean they've reduced your viral load or long-term symptoms or anything.
Public health measures only carefully. We must be nimble in applying public health measures to extinguish flare-ups quickly. And there will be flare-ups.
To extinguish flare-ups.
And work very quickly through them.
See, he's jealous of the firefighters.
We go to the first
flare-ups. Extinguish them quickly.
This shows the new
cases. Because you don't have a cure for it now. How are you extinguishing the flare-ups? You're watching them burn out,
is that, the lockdowns have been challenging, but it is clear that everyone's efforts and sacrifices have had an impact. This is not unique observation to Ontario. We've seen this in virtually every jurisdiction where it has been studied. But you can see that we're able to get control over the surge and bring it back down. However, two things to note importantly here. First, the black line, which is Ontario, has started to level off. It was on a very nice decrease. It's now leveling off.
We are 3 times past what the official projections were. How do you mean to tell us they're low?
Some public health units with increasing case numbers. And we are seeing some of our largest public health units with some of the highest levels, like Peel, Toronto, and York, actually starting to trend in the wrong direction again.
Starting to trend
we see
in the
increased
wrong
cases. An important thing is to determine whether or not we also are just seeing that because of increased test numbers. You can see here actually overall testing in the province is down slightly. So the higher case numbers are not, or the more cases that we're seeing are not an artifact of just more testing.
Doesn't work.
It is important to
It
note
has
that
never
some
worked.
units, though, testing numbers are starting to trend up. So we always need to be cautious in how we're interpreting that. And so, we look at cases, we look at test numbers, and we also look at positivity, which is
cases, test numbers, positivity. Hey, you just said the same thing 3 times. I'm smart enough to know that.
Started to trend up again.
I'm stupid enough to figure it out.
There at the bottom.
You cannot outsmart
you can see that it is also trending up in a number of the public health units. So we see positivity up, test numbers slightly down, cases up. This really probably represents the level off of what we've seen in terms of the downward trending cases, and we're likely to see increases in cases very shortly. Now, this is a good news story.
I'm 4 years old, waiting for cartoons to come on, bro.
In the daily death rates in long-term care homes, and a substantial reduction in the cases both among residents and staff in long-term care homes. This is data from yesterday, where we had 20 resident deaths in the last 7 days. Restating that
And
data
you
today
consider
would
that
give us
to
an
be
even better
low.
number of only 12 resident deaths in the
Consider
last
1
7
every
days.
8 hours
That
to
is
be low.
substantially better than 4 weeks ago, and
I
even
don't.
still
That's
much
why I
better
count
again
it in
than
hours.
2 weeks ago. So a substantial improvement over time.
You don't. You won't even
But
let
you can see
yourself
that green
think
curve,
those
which is cumulative
numbers.
deaths, actually starting to flatten out and hopefully will stay as flat as it can be. It is important to note that outbreaks are down. We have really only 42 outbreaks. It says 46 from yesterday, but 42 outbreaks today in long-term care homes
It
across the
says
province.
46, but it's really 42. Fuck off.
But unfortunately, I have to note that second wave mortality, it's the total number of deaths that we've seen since September 1st, has now surpassed the total number that we saw in the first wave. Total number of deaths in the second wave today would be 1,894 deaths in long-term care homes.
No, it's long. It's more than it was over 2,000. In November, it was over 2,000. Now it's under 1,900.
Reduction in community spread.
It's the low 1,800. Check that out.
Help reduce the spread in the community, and
so I've already shown that
over 8,000 people linked to long-term care homes have died, including PSWs, doctors, nurses, Uber drivers, taxi drivers, all that shit.
Protects people in those long-term care homes. And so I'm showing you 2 charts here that really represent the modeling of what would have happened had we not.
You're showing what your boss will have said. Someone's going to scream, "That's good." No, that's not his boss.
Orange curve, and you can see the blue curve is what we actually saw. And so it's a substantial reduction in this chart in cases both for residents. It's more than 1,500 cases avoided.
No. If you didn't hit the maximum predicted by the modeling,
does not mean you had a reduction.
It means it didn't increase as much. You are stupid. Or you think we are?
Transmission among healthcare workers was about 75% less at the point that we're able to.
I don't want to hear how much it reduced.
I want to hear what the fucking reproduction rate was.
Transmission,
I guarantee it's about 2.5 or 3 or 4 or 5, something like that.
Somewhere between 2.5 and 5 when it comes to healthcare workers. It has to be. Because there's nobody else to infect that but that.
Now we know that one of the big drivers of
is he talking about long-term? And I'm being confused too. Are we talking about hospitals or long-term care? Because that is a different setting. So maybe I'm a little off. At least I know I'm off. You're lying, pretending you're not.
To a pre-holiday level. What's important to note here is that it is starting to trend up a little bit, but as importantly, at any given level of mobility, the variants of concern will lead to more transmission. And so it's this issue of really trying to adjust for the variants of concern, which are much more transmissible, much more easily spread from person to person. This gives you an idea now about the spread of the variants of concern and about the alarming speed with which they can spread. If you look here at about January 25th, we're estimating less than 5% of the total number of cases were variants of concern. And yet by about February 22nd, we're looking at almost 20% or around 20% of total cases of variants of concern.
Bearing in mind, it's like a week delayed testing for those 2 weeks. And they didn't start testing for them when he just said. Well, we tested like 2 people for them in January. They're still not testing everybody for variants. No, they're not.
Start to increase. So do the case rates. And even places that look like they had it under control, like say France or Germany, are now seeing spikes in some of their communities. And
hey,
case rates
there was a big fucking difference between those 2, bro.
This chart gives you an idea of just how we look compared to other jurisdictions.
This chart gives you an idea.
Going up there are the percent of cases that are variants of concern in Ontario. And you can see the different lines there, the black for the United Kingdom, the red for Denmark, the purple for Switzerland, the blue for the Netherlands, and the yellow for Germany, all showing that same type of growth. And we anticipate, regardless
all I can think is I dropped a weed seed the other day. And even though it didn't look the best example of a weed seed, I wanted that.
Or the variant that we've been dealing with up until now, and become the dominant form. As they become the dominant form of the virus, they're likely to actually increase case rates again as we move forward.
This is your brain on drugs.
I want to talk about what this means for case growth. The first thing is that this creates a great amount of uncertainty in estimating our case growth over the next little while. If, for instance, by good fortune and the extension of public health measures, we're able to continue the current decline in cases, you can see in that dotted line, we actually get down to a very, very low number of cases by the end of March. However, what we think is probably a more reasonable sort of best case scenario, that blue line, that low, means that we really only get down to just over 500 cases by the end of March.
A more reasonable
sort of case
best
scenario
case
based
scenario.
on
What does that mean?
the increased transmissibility of the variants of concern, the date at which we believe the variants of concern were introduced into Ontario based on their growth, the timing of the public health measures, is that yellow line, which is the median bar there. That likely takes us back up over 2,000 cases a day by the end of March. And a worst case scenario, or a much more serious case scenario, is that purple line, which shows actually a third wave cresting there, close to 4,000 cases a day, due largely to the variants of concern and their ability to spread, particularly in the absence of public health measures. I think it's important to know, we're hoping, as we always do, is we apply public health measures to avoid a worst case scenario. But a United Kingdom type scenario where cases tripled in about a month is not necessarily off the table. On this slide, you can get an idea of COVID-19 hospitalization rates and the ICU occupancy across the province. As cases have declined, thankfully so have hospitalizations. That's the orange bars on top. We're about 685 or 690 hospitalizations right now. You can see ICU use, though ICU occupancy has actually started to level off, and so the hope for decline in this is leveled off, and we're actually, I believe, in the fourth straight day of increases in ICU occupancy. This is talking about the most intense level of care within hospitals. We're up to about 316 intensive care unit beds occupied at this point. Now, again, returning to how we model the impact of the growth in cases on ICU occupancy, which remains a critical indicator of how we're able to manage through the pandemic, you can see that in all on every case, we really do stay at or above the 150 bed threshold. That's the threshold at which we believe there does begin to be impact on the amount of care that can be provided. Under the worst case threshold, you see that we actually do start to get back up into a very sort of challenging area of occupancy, about 350 or maybe more ICU beds occupied by the end of March. What's important to note here is that ICUs, when COVID patients enter the intensive care unit, they're often staying much longer than other patients. They require more intense care often than the patients who are already in the intensive care unit. And so you can actually see perhaps both a greater strain on intensive care units, but you can also anticipate that likely this will flatten out even more before we really get to about 150, as those patients stay longer and longer periods in the intensive care unit. Here is some good news. We are seeing more and more Ontarians getting vaccinated, and focusing coverage on areas where the impact is greatest will be an important
Yes, but your vaccine will do nothing for what is inevitably going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months.
Received at least one dose as of a few days ago, and the orange line reflects individuals who've received both doses and are fully vaccinated.
Because every little bit helps. No, it doesn't.
We have here. Important to note that
and you're teaching all these people that as long as you say, well, it's for the pandemic, then it's okay to break the pandemic rules.
It's important to see both the blue and the orange line move up in terms of protecting Ontarians as we move along.
I got paper bags here. I think I get paper bags.
I think it's important to try to put this now into a longer term perspective as well. The next few months are really key to maintaining our gains.
So again, trying to explain away, not explain, but explain away why what you're saying doesn't match what you're saying.
And even a summer, this summer being better and more open than last summer. But it really requires us to maintain the gains that we've achieved over the last little while. There's a number of reasons why we believe that a better summer is possible. The combination of the vaccination and the public health measures have helped reduce transmission. The continuation of the stay-at-home orders in some public health units have been an effective break on transmission in those larger communities.
You sure about that?
And the stay-at-home orders overall, despite how painful they are, have actually helped break both the spread of the disease and the spread of the variants of concern.
Remember, doctors, pain is something that only exists in your head.
Care homes has helped bring down both deaths and cases. It tends not to bring down hospitalization, but it has brought down both deaths and cases.
Once you get diagnosed with something like trigeminal neuralgia, you don't have to listen to these idiots tell you about pain.
Down further as we look at this.
Oh, you have that? What kind of drug you want?
This one. Good choice. As the weather warms up in the late spring and the summer, That means
Remember,
more
I live
time
in Canada.
outdoors,
I
and
can
that
get
also
cocaine
means less
and
time
heroin
inside
by
in
prescription.
crowded spaces,
And
in closed-in
ketamine
spaces,
and then
in
cyclodine
spaces
are both
with poor
available here,
ventilation.
just not
And that
typically for
helps rate
humans, but
transmission
they're
of
here.
disease.
So
And
they'll
looking
give
at
me ketamine and
historical
cocaine and a
models,
nasal
like the
spray if I ask for it.
1918 influenza pandemic,
If I ask for it.
we believe that the introduction of vaccination,
All you idiots fucked up on oxys and fentanyl and shit. I don't feel no sympathy for you because I know what happened. You kept asking for more and more, and they kept giving it to you because they're required by law to give it to you.
way than in previous pandemics where we truly had to rely
You go to
on
a doctor, say, I'm in pain. It's illegal for them to send you away without giving you something, doing something to alleviate your pain.
and closely monitor the
Against
spread
the
of all types
fucking
of
law.
cases while accelerating vaccination.
Oh, it's the doctor's fault. It's his fault. It's their fault. Hey, you kept taking the damn pills.
Communities and settings where risk factors make people vulnerable. Any type of congregate setting where people are living together will increase the risk of transmission. Any place where we've not been able to get.
How about where I'm breathing in everybody else's secondhand air? Snickers only get air that white people have already breathed. Now, I know scientifically we're all drinking dinosaur piss every day when we run the tap, so it's not a huge issue to me.
That are truly vaccine resistant emerge. So the path ahead is clear that we could have a much better summer, but we do need to be ready, and we do need to respond very quickly to how the pandemic changes. And we'll get a better read on some of that over the next couple of weeks, but it's important to stay, regardless of that, particularly vigilant over the next while. With that, we'll come back to the key findings. And just to kind of reiterate, the variants of concern are spreading. The next few weeks are really particularly critical to both understanding and controlling the spread of these variants. But we can keep the gains that we've made by watching spread very closely and by loosening public health measures only very carefully. We must be nimble in applying public health measures to extinguish flare-ups, which will happen quickly, but we can move towards a much better summer. I'll end here with a list of the contributors and turn it back over to you, Dr. Williams.
Okay, well, thank you. And some comments to follow up on Dr. Brown's presentation. And as always, challenging, some ways reassuring, and other ways raising the alerts and keeping those where we need to, but I'll comment on that in a moment. Let's look at numbers over the last while. Since last update on Monday, we had an additional 3,167 cases of COVID-19. That was 975 cases on Tuesday, 1,054 cases yesterday, and 1,138 cases today. So you can see we're always hovering around this 1,000 mark for the last while. As Dr. Brown alluded to, there's some sense maybe it's starting to move back up again, but we're going to have to watch this very carefully. On the cases reported today, there were 339 in Toronto.
We're going to have to approach our
4 in Peel Region.
Master plan at defeating black people's hesitancy. Vaccine hesitancy. They always got a name for everything.
7-day average.
If I say I can't have mercury injected in me, they go, oh, that's black.
99.
Vaccine hesitancy.
From 1,016.
That's why I won't let you call me anti-vaxxer, this or that, or no. I speak science. And if I got it wrong, I've been misinformed.
See an increase.
Or I'm guessing wrong. How many fucking scientists and inventors got shit wrong 1,000 times?
While Dr. Brown has noted that our deaths in the last 7 days are down, unfortunately, because it is a delayed metric, we still had an additional 44 deaths since Monday's update. And that's sad to say, and those are, of course, extending condolences to the families and members there, because these are significant losses for them. And the 7-day average of deaths is down slightly to 25, but it's down to 25, but that's an increase of up from 23 last week. But some of the last few days, as Dr. Brown's alluded to, and maybe I'll report on that next week, showed some ongoing improvement, especially as we have been completing our vaccination of our long-term care residents and staff. The the intensive care use is also fluctuating, and it is increased up to 283 from 277. So we've seen that, as the graph showed in Dr. Brown's presentation, a leveling at this time, hanging around that number, but it could be tending up again a bit. But the hospitalizations overall, surprising enough, is down from 758 to 687 this week. So we see some directions changing there as well. Our testing still is robust, especially in the middle of the week here, as we often see a dip during the weekend, and then it comes back up again. So we did over 66,351 tests for yesterday, which was reported today as a positivity rate of down to 2%. We're having another over 60,000 processing for reporting again tomorrow. So the volume of testing during the middle of the week is not abating. This rate of 2% is our lowest that we've seen province-wide since mid-October. Going over the variants of concern, and we're continuing our aggressive testing, looking for any positive PCRs or any noted, to have them vetted through our 501 PCR variant testing, and then a number of those going on to full gene sequencing. So far in Ontario, we've experienced a dominant of the B117. Here we're supposed to use the numeric term rather than the title. This is the one that previously was identified in the UK. And that's up to 449, and an increase of 54 from yesterday. Again, agreeing with what Dr. Brown's concern, as the variants of concern are increasing in numbers as well as the percent, as they noted, heading up to 20%, which I'll comment in a moment. We also identified 11 of the B1351, the so-called South African variant, and that was up 2 from yesterday, and we continue to have some others tested and followed and monitored. We had our 2 previously noted P1, or the Brazilian variant, that were identified, and that was up 1 from yesterday. So we had 2 pending, or 1 pending, 1 confirmed. Now we have 2 confirmed in there. To date, we've screened 17,651 positive samples were screened, and we had a positivity rate as of this document here of 11.3%, but we've seen that increase over the last few days, and as per the slide deck that Dr. Brown showed, we're up to 20%, just under that as of now, and that's up from 5% at the end of January. So in a way, we've seen a doubling about once every 2 weeks, which is better than what we're anticipating, but concerning nevertheless. So we're up from 5 to 20% in 4 to 5.